When I was a little kid, I took swimming lessons at the local YMCA, and even though I didn't keep with it, I really enjoyed it. I still enjoy swimming, even though it's not the most portable sport like some other sports. With the way things worked at this particular YMCA, they had sort of little assessment report card type things at the end of a certain period of having taken lessons, however many weeks was typical. And the one thing that consistently appeared on my report cards over the course of however many years I took swimming lessons was endurance needs improvement. And when I started taking swimming lessons, I was way too young to even know what the word endurance meant. It was a very big word to me at the time. Over time, I think I grew to understand that endurance, at least in this context, meant that I tired easily, or I wasn't keeping pace with the other swimmers. It came up again when I started singing in the high school choir. It was my first time really singing in a formal context, and I had a lot of trouble having the breath support to hold out longer notes or to hit higher notes. I think at some point I started to see a reflection of my perceived lack of physical endurance in my mental endurance. There were certain situations where I felt like I quit early, or I couldn't stick with something for a very long period of time. Now looking back at it, I think part of that is connected to having ADD, but at the time I just saw it as a weakness, and I saw it as, in some ways, as my fault for not doing something like a sport where I developed a sense of endurance, or not committing to a thing like a club or a team of some sort. And for a long time I wanted to write a musical piece called Endurance. My original idea had been an instrumental piece, like that would be really technical, and so I liked the idea of it not necessarily being a difficult song for the listener to listen to. I didn't want that, but something that would take a lot of technical prowess and physical endurance to play. And if it wasn't an instrumental piece, I also had the idea of writing a song in that sort of context where the music itself was tough to play and the lyrics were about like the endurance of certain artists or certain pieces of music and what things make those things last. Fast forward to the last year of the last job I had that I've referenced in a few of the different videos. I was constantly feeling tired all the time. I was having trouble keeping focus at work, and I remember going up to the Adirondacks with my parents one weekend, waking up one morning, and I thought to myself, I can't remember the last time I woke up and felt well rested. And it was something I struggled with in college too, when I was doing stuff that I was really engaged in and enjoyed. I have a distinct memory of my roommate in college commenting on one night where I was staying up late, and I know I would be getting up early, how I was burning both ends of the candle, and it was actually my first time hearing that phrase, but it resonated with me a lot. So that was where the lyrics started to come out. Rather than being this sort of high concept thing about art in general and what things endure, it ended up becoming much more personal about just the slog sometimes of day-to-day life and figuring out how to get through it. Now, the other big piece of the song is the organ riff, which I've actually had since I was like 15 or 16 years old. I came up with it back in high school, but I could never figure out how to write a song around it. I had the main riff and I had the verse, and that was about it, and I didn't have any lyrics for it. And I definitely didn't have a vocal melody for it. I couldn't figure out what would fit over the sort of rhythms I had come up with. Mostly I think I was concerned specifically with the verses, about being able to play and sing it at the same time. But one of the things that I've started to do over the years with my songwriting is, if a song feels like it's getting overly complicated, or I sort of lose sight of what I feel like is the heart of the song, I try to break it down into, okay, if I were to play this song at like an acoustic open mic or something, or if I just wanted to present it on its own to someone, would I be able to do that? And if I could, how would I do that? So when I started writing these lyrics down, I was playing around with the chords that sort of fit underneath the organ riff I came up with, the main riff and the verses. And once I broke it down to just the chords and the sort of much more basic strumming pattern that I could sing along to, I started to come up with a melody for it and a structure for it. And so I got the first couple of verses, and then that's where, once I had that, that was sort of what lit the flame in my brain of like, oh, let's just break down into an electric piano solo. And the rest of the song was very much just sort of contrary to the way I'm used to writing, where like I tend to finish the lyrics first and that gives me the structure of the song. But where with this one, I was writing it up on Guitar Pro on the computer, and using that as a way to sort of get ideas down on the page, hear how it sounded before the song was finished, and like I would get to the end of the section and I would hear in my head, oh, this is what should come next. So the electric piano solo led to the bridge, which became very much about just it went through several drafts and ended up being about a topic that I touch on in a lot of the songs that are on this album, and I've talked about in several of the other videos, this idea that you have had tough moments in your life and you're going to have them again. You've survived them in the past. So this song in particular poses the question, what makes you think that you aren't going to survive them in the future? And beyond that, one of the things I think I tried to wrestle with in the choruses that come at the end of the song is this idea that not only can you survive this, but that it's worth surviving. And in particular, it's this idea that the speaker of the song is really reaching out to whoever they're talking to and saying, hey, you're not in this alone, and this is just a part of life, and if you need help, I'm here for you. There are actually a bunch of different things going on in these last few choruses, I think. Like the whole take a breath and you'll be fine. The take a breath line that happens several times in this song, and then again in The Curtain, and I think a few other songs. Just this idea of, I know that for myself, how I can catastrophize and how I can get so wound up in my head, and sometimes I just need to take that moment to breathe and relax and remember this isn't the end of the world. And it's a very basic thing, and it's something that you hear people all over say, from psychologists to artists to your family and friends, but it's something that it doesn't matter how many times I hear it, I always need to remind myself. And that's what a lot of this album is. A lot of it is reminding myself of the coping mechanisms I have and the habits I've developed to deal with the tougher things in life. Because on my best days, I'm awesome. I feel like I'm on top of the world. If my friends need help with stuff, I'm happy to be there for them. But on my worst days, I feel like this, why is life this way? What is life? And it can be tough to remember that, hey, this feeling that you're feeling right now, it's not necessarily based in truth. And also, it's nothing new. You felt it before. Maybe a different context, but it's the same stress and anxiety and fear that you've felt in so many different situations, and you've gotten through that stuff. And that in and of itself is something to be proud of. And since so much of the first half of the song is just sort of the speaker speaking to someone, I just really love the way that the end of the song is about that reaching out, and it ends on this image of reaching out to help someone in their struggle, and meeting them where they are. We'll swim together. So this song I guess has been a long time in the making from a variety of different places in my life, and it's my favorite song on the album. I know that's the favorite of a lot of people who have talked to me about the album, and I'm just so happy with how it turned out. Thank you so much for watching and for listening. We're nearing the end of the series that has to do with this album, but I do have more plans for the YouTube channel, more music stuff that I want to put up, more review type stuff that I'm planning on doing. So keep an eye on this, especially for next week with the song Stepping Stones. Also, thanks again to Eric for playing acoustic guitar for this video. I've been playing music with Eric for a little over a year now, maybe a year and a half, in various settings, and he plays bass on most of the tracks on the album. And when I was putting together this whole video series for the YouTube channel, I was fairly convinced I wasn't going to be able to do Endurance, because even though breaking it down to just the chords, it's sort of been a way into the song for finishing it, I felt like it loses a little without the full band arrangement. And then last month we had a show and we wanted to play it, so we tried out a piano acoustic guitar version, and it was a lot of fun. So we were able to record it for this, and that made me really happy as a completionist, on a completionist level, to just have acoustic versions of all these songs. So thanks again, Eric. If you've been enjoying this, please like, subscribe, let other people know about it. If you haven't listened to the album itself yet, please click the link in the description below. You can listen to the whole album on Bandcamp, and you can hear other stuff I've worked on Bandcamp as well. I'm really proud of how this album turned out, so I hope you all are enjoying it. See you next week. Thanks.
Up and didn't feel so tired. When was the last time you kept a steady pace? How many nights you stayed up late, burning both ends of the candle? Have you seen